Oh, hello and welcome to another fun-filled, or should I say weird edition of Adam's Music Box, because today we're going to talk about a very strange song with an even stranger postscript, one that was in fact very tragic and even scary. So the song begins in the midst of the space age. That is where it is set because NASA had launched their Telstar communications satellite, and songwriter and music producer Joe Meek, a man who was very successful, but who had underlying mental problems, serious ones. He composed an instrumental pop tune called Telstar, celebrating this, and it had a very for the day sort of futuristic keyboard sound, and people loved the instrumental tune. It was huge in the UK, huge in the US, and it was sort of classified as a rock instrumental. And as such, it was the first non-US rock tune to chart on the US charts. This is before the Animals, before the Beatles, Stones, Who, Kinks, Dave Clark 5. Not by a lot, but by enough. The song was from 1962. People really liked it. Again, like I said, the keyboard sound that sort of drives the tune was very futuristic for the era, and a lot of people really, really liked it. Um, I kind of find it annoying, but again, it was super, super popular, even among people that you wouldn't think would normally like it. I mean, they say, God knows if this is true, that Margaret Thatcher, for those who remember who that is, really liked it, which again only adds to the intrigue. But Joe Meeks was someone who Joe Meek, I should say, was someone who had a lot of troubles mentally. And when a lawsuit came through his door about this song, it really took a lot out of him. The lawsuit claimed that an earlier film composition from the Abel Gance film Austerlitz about the Great Napoleonic Battle from just 2 years earlier, the composer for that film, a man called Jean Ledourt, I believe I'm pronouncing it wrong, but something like that, he claimed that his theme, his March of the Austerlitz, was copied by Joe Meek for Telstar. And when you listen to the two side by side, there are a lot of melodic similarities and chordal similarities. There are some differences, but again, there are a lot of similarities. And so a court at the time ruled against Meek. And you can kind of see why, even though I think all copyright law is a bit of a sham, because all great art is inspired by other great art, and even mediocre art is inspired by other. Be that as it may, the court ruled against him, and not long thereafter, he shot the woman who owned the house he was living in, and then shot himself. And that's a pretty, it's pretty damn grim if you ask me. And then to make things even weirder, posthumously, a court of appeal ruled that no, he didn't plagiarize this French film score. It was really weird. Not a lot of people remember that story, but a lot of people remember the song. It was performed by a group of studio musicians, called the Tornadoes, and you can still sometimes hear it on various oldies stations and on oldies compilations. Again, it's one of those inexplicable songs that, you wouldn't really assume that the general public would take a shining to, but they really did. And so that, for what it's worth, is the strange, tragic, and weird story behind Telstar, the first really, really globally successful rock and roll instrumental. Like, subscribe, and we'll see you next time. Take care.